Eli Carter adjusted the collar of his simple diplomatic uniform as the transport shuttle descended toward the shining palace of the Aurelian Empire. The capital world glittered beneath the stars, with tall towers shaped like crystals and wide bridges glowing with golden light. He pressed his hand against the window, trying not to show how nervous he felt. The Aurelians were one of the oldest starfaring empires, respected and sometimes feared across the galaxy. They were famous for their strict traditions, their grand ceremonies, and their curiosity toward other species. For humanity, still young among the stars, this invitation to the imperial court was both an honor and a test. Eli had been chosen, not because he was the most skilled diplomat, but because he had a reputation for speaking with honesty and courage. That, his commanders believed, was what the Aurelians valued most. Still, as he saw the palace gates opening below, tall enough to fit entire starships, he felt his hands tighten into fists. The shuttle landed gently. Guards dressed in armor that shimmered like silver fish stood waiting. Their helmets had long crests, and their tall forms moved with silent grace. Eli stepped out feeling small among them, but he lifted his chin. Humanity had faced worse. Human envoy Eli Carter, one of the guards announced in a deep voice. "The Imperial Court welcomes you." Eli bowed slightly the way he had been taught, and followed them through towering halls. The palace seemed alive, with walls that glowed faintly and floors that rippled like flowing water when stepped upon. Alien nobles of many races filled the halls, their clothes decorated with jewels, their eyes turning toward the lone human among them. Some smiled with curiosity, others whispered, a few even sneered. Finally, the guards led him into the grand chamber. The ceiling was so high that it vanished into mist, and golden banners hung down like waterfalls. At the center was a wide platform shaped like a star. On the throne at its tip sat the Emperor of the Aurelians, a tall figure with robes, as bright as fire. Beside him sat his daughter, Princess Lysera. Eli had heard of her even before leaving Earth. Lysera was young by Aurelian standards, yet already famous. She was known for her laughter, her bold questions, and her unusual interest in the cultures of other species. When Eli entered, her golden eyes fixed on him at once. Unlike the Emperor, who remained stern and silent, Lysera leaned forward with curiosity. Her silver hair shimmered as she tilted her head. "So this is the human?" she asked, her voice carrying across the chamber. Eli stepped onto the platform, bowed respectfully, and spoke clearly. "Yes, Your Highness, I am Eli Carter, here to represent the human worlds. It is my honor to stand before you." The Emperor gave a small nod but said nothing. Lysera, however, smiled mischievously. She gestured for him to rise. "You look younger than I expected," she said, "and less armored. Most alien envoys come here wearing jewels or heavy robes, but you are plain." Eli managed a smile. "We humans believe our words should carry more weight than our clothes." That answer made a ripple of laughter spread through the nobles. Some laughed kindly, others mockingly. Lysera's smile widened. A bold reply, "I like it." The ceremony continued with formal greetings. Representatives of other species spoke, boasting of their fleets, their achievements, or their endless traditions. Eli listened carefully, but his thoughts kept returning to the princess, who seemed to watch him more than anyone else. Later, during the banquet, long tables were filled with food glowing in many colors. Strange fruits floated in crystal bowls, meat steamed with fragrant spices, and drink shimmered like liquid light. Eli sat near the end of the table, feeling both honored and out of place. That was when it happened. A noble from another race, tall and covered with scales, asked Eli about human biology. "Tell me, human," the noble said loudly so many could hear. "Is it true your species cannot mate year-round? That your bodies are limited in their cycle?" The words brought sudden silence, then quiet laughter from several tables. Eli felt heat rise to his face. He had expected questions about technology, about Earth's fleets, maybe even about wars, but not this. Before he could answer, Lysera laughed. Her voice rang across the hall like silver bells. She leaned toward him, eyes sparkling. Is it true? She asked playfully. Humans cannot? How strange. Most species in this galaxy can mate whenever they please. But you follow cycles? Such a small window? How limiting. The hall filled with laughter. Some nobles shook their heads in amusement. Others whispered that humans were indeed primitive. Eli gripped his cup tightly. He could feel the humiliation pressing against him like a heavy stone. But then he looked at Lysera again. Her laughter was not cruel. It was curious, even teasing, as though she was testing him. He straightened his shoulders and forced himself to smile. Yes, Your Highness. Humans are not like many other races. We do not mate endlessly, but perhaps that makes our bond stronger. Lysera's laughter softened and her golden eyes narrowed with interest. Stronger? How so? You must convince me. The words hung in the air, and the chamber grew quiet again. Many nobles leaned closer, eager to hear how a human would defend such a thing. Some expected him to stumble. Others waited for him to embarrass himself further. Eli's heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. Because for us, love is not only about nature, it is about choice. We do not follow endless seasons. We choose when and with whom, and that choice makes it precious, the nobles murmured. Some frowned, some raised brows, but Lysera smiled again, tapping her finger against her chin. A bold claim, she said. Choice instead of instinct. Interesting. But words are easy, human. I will want proof. Proof, Your Highness? Eli asked carefully. Yes, Lysera said with a mischievous gleam in her eye. Convince me. Show me why humans with all their limits claim to have something greater. Until then, I shall keep laughing. She leaned back in her chair, laughing again, though this time it carried warmth instead of mockery. The nobles laughed with her, but their eyes now stayed fixed on Eli. The challenge had been set. Eli raised his cup and bowed his head slightly. Then I accept your challenge, Princess. I will convince you. The banquet continued with music and conversation, but for Eli the evening had changed. No longer was this just a mission of formal diplomacy. Now it was something else, a test not only for him, but for all humanity. As he sat among alien nobles and glanced once more at the princess, who still smiled at him from across the table, Eli knew one thing: the path ahead would not be easy, but he would not fail. Humanity's honor rested on his words, and Princess Lysera, curious, bold, and laughing, was waiting for his answer. The palace garden stretched far and wide, glowing under the twin moons of the Aurelian capital. Strange flowers shimmered with blue light, and tall trees hummed softly, as if alive with hidden voices. Eli Carter walked slowly down the marble path, guided by two Aurelian attendants. His mind still turned over the princess's words. Convince me, she had said, her eyes bright with challenge. The banquet had ended, but the conversation had not. Eli knew that if he failed to answer, her properly humanity would look weak before the court. Yet he also felt that Princess Lysera's laughter was not meant to destroy him. She wanted something else, something deeper. The attendants brought him to a small courtyard. At its center was a glowing fountain shaped like a spiral galaxy. There, sitting gracefully on a bench of white stone, was the princess herself. She wore a robe that shimmered like liquid silver, and her long hair fell across her shoulders. When she saw Eli, she raised her hand. Leave us, she told the attendants. They bowed and stepped away, disappearing into the garden shadows. Now Eli stood alone with the princess. The air was quiet, except for the soft sound of water and the distant call of night birds. Human, Lysera said, her voice playful yet serious. You spoke boldly tonight. You claimed your kind does not need endless seasons of desire because you have something greater: choice, loyalty, bonds. I wish to know more. You will explain? Eli bowed respectfully. If it pleases your highness, I will try, she smiled faintly. You will try? That is not enough. Convince me. He took a slow breath, thinking carefully. Among humans, we do not only follow nature. Yes, we are born with limits, but those limits make us treasure what we have. When we love fully. When we choose, we stay loyal. That is why our families are strong. That is why our songs are filled with meaning. Lysera tilted her head, golden eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Songs? Do you mean to tell me your species sings about this weakness? Eli shook his head. Not weakness, princess. Strength. We sing about love because it gives us hope. In times of war or loss, it is love that reminds us why we endure. That is what makes us human. For a moment, the princess said nothing. Her lips curved into a thoughtful smile. Strange, she murmured. Most races sing of victories, of conquests, of power. But you sing of love. Your kind is indeed different. She stood gracefully and began to walk along the garden path. Eli followed, keeping a respectful distance. Tell me more, human, Lysera said. Do your people truly stay loyal? Do they not grow tired of one another? You say you cannot mate year-round. Does that not make your species restless? Eli chuckled softly. We are restless, yes. Humans are full of curiosity. But that same restlessness makes us explore the stars. It makes us create, build, and imagine. We are not bound by one season or one instinct. We choose our path. Lysera glanced at him. And yet many races choose paths. What makes your choice different? Eli hesitated. How could he explain what he felt in his heart? He remembered his parents who had stayed together despite hardship, supporting each other in difficult times. He remembered his friends back on Earth, some of whom had lost loved ones but still carried their memory with pride. Our choice matters, Eli said firmly, because it is not forced. We could walk away, but many of us do not. We stay. That makes our bonds strong. The princess slowed her steps, studying him closely. You speak with conviction, human. Yet words are easy, as I said before. How do I know you are not simply telling me what I wish to hear? Eli met her gaze. Because I have nothing else to offer. I am only one man from a young race. If I do not speak the truth, then I would dishonor both myself and my people. For a moment, Lysera's golden eyes searched his face. Then she laughed soft and musical. You are bold indeed. I see why my father allowed you into this court. Few would dare speak so plainly here. They reached the edge of the garden, where a wide balcony overlooked the shining city below. Towers glittered with golden light, and skyships drifted silently through the air. Lysera leaned against the railing, her expression more serious now. Human, she said. Our empire has known many species. Most are predictable. They fight for power, they boast of strength, they chase endless pleasures, but you, your kind, seems to place great value on something so fragile, so invisible. It puzzles me. Eli nodded. Perhaps that is why humanity survives, even when we are weaker. Our strength is not in size or power, it is in meaning. We fight for something beyond ourselves. Lysera tapped her chin thoughtfully. Meaning, purpose, choice. You repeat these words often. Perhaps they are important to you. She smiled faintly. Very well, human. I will test you. Eli's brow furrowed. Test me, princess? Yes, she said, turning back to him. Tomorrow, there will be a gathering in the Hall of Voices. Delegates from many races will share something from their people, songs, stories, or traditions. You will stand before them and show us why your species is unique. That will be your chance to convince me. Eli felt his heart pound. A public trial before nobles and delegates of countless races. If he failed, humanity's name would be laughed at for years. But if he succeeded, he bowed deeply. I accept, Your Highness. Lysera's smile grew brighter, and her laughter echoed once more through the night. Good. I look forward to seeing how a limited human will prove his species worthy. She turned and walked back toward the palace, leaving Eli on the balcony, staring at the shining city. He felt both fear and determination twisting inside him. Tomorrow would decide much. He whispered softly to himself. Convince her. Convince them all. The next day came quickly. The Hall of Voices was a vast chamber shaped like a circle, with seats rising upward in layers like a great arena. At its center stood a single platform of white stone. Delegates from dozens of species filled the seats, their voices mixing into a deep murmur. Eli stood at the edge of the platform waiting for his turn. One by one, alien representatives stepped forward. A scaled warrior species demonstrated their strength by breaking iron pillars. A race with wings sang in harmonies so complex the chamber vibrated. Another showed endless records of their bloodlines, proving their fertility and unbroken lineage. The audience clapped, cheered, or muttered in approval. Each race boasted of its gifts: strength, beauty, endless life, endless desire. Then at last Eli's name was called. He walked slowly to the center. The hall grew quiet, many eyes fixed on him. Some watched with curiosity, others with doubt. Lysra sat among the highest seats, her golden eyes shining with interest. Eli stood tall. His voice was steady. I am Eli Carter of Earth. We humans are young among the stars. We do not have endless strength. We do not live forever. And yes, our kind cannot mate year-round. Many of you laugh at this. But I tell you this. What we lack in constant instinct, we make up for in choice. When we love, it is not because we must. It is because we choose to. And that choice makes it stronger than instinct alone. The hall stirred with whispers. Some frowned, others leaned closer. Eli continued. When war separates us, we wait for each other. When time changes us, we remain loyal. We sing not only of victories, but of love that endures. That is the gift of humanity. Not endless desire, but endless meaning. His words hung in the air. Silence followed. Then slowly, Princess Lysra began to clap her hands together. Her laughter rang out, but this time it was not mocking. It was bright, curious, and almost pleased. Well spoken, human, she said. You have passed the first step, but I am not yet convinced. The nobles murmured again. Some were impressed, others doubtful. Eli bowed his head, feeling sweat on his neck but pride in his chest. The challenge was not over. The princess would test him again. But for the first time he saw something in her eyes that gave him hope. Not just amusement, but respect. The Hall of Voices remained heavy with silence even after Eli Carter left the speaking platform. The echoes of his words still lingered in the vast chamber, like ripples spreading across water. Many alien nobles whispered among themselves, debating his claims. Some nodded with cautious respect, others frowned with disbelief, and a few scoffed openly. From her high seat, Princess Lysra rested her chin on one hand, golden eyes fixed on the human envoy. There was laughter in her smile still, but not the same as before. It was softer now, touched with thought. She tapped her fingers against the carved armrest as if turning his words over in her mind. The Emperor, silent as stone, finally raised his hand. His voice carried across the hall like thunder. Enough for today. The trial of words is complete. But this is not yet proof. Tomorrow, a greater test will be held. All species will bring forth a demonstration of what makes their kind strong, not only in word, but in deed. A murmur of excitement rolled through the nobles. Such trials were rare and often spectacular. Delegates would show songs, art, strength, or skills. It was both entertainment and judgment. Eli bowed respectfully and left the chamber. His heart pounded, but his steps remained steady. He had spoken truthfully, and that was all he could offer. Still, he knew the harder test lay ahead. That evening, in the guest chambers given to him, Eli sat at a desk of polished crystal. Outside, the tall windows, the capital world glowed under the stars, ships moving like slow fireflies across the skies. He thought carefully about what he could show tomorrow. Humans had no great wings to spread, no endless strength to lift mountains, no dazzling voices to shake chambers. What he could offer was not spectacle but meaning. Yet meaning was hard to show in a hall filled with skeptical nobles. He rubbed his forehead, deep in thought, when a soft knock came at the door. "Enter," he said. The door opened, and Princess Lysera herself stepped inside. She wore no heavy robe now, only a light gown of deep blue that shimmered like water. 2 guards stood outside but did not follow her in. Eli rose quickly and bowed. "Your Highness?" She raised her hand. "No formality here, human. Tonight I am only Lysera. I came because I am curious." Eli blinked in surprise but nodded. "Curious, Princess?" She walked slowly into the room, studying the shelves filled with glowing books, the walls alive, with faint golden veins of light. "You spoke bravely today. Many expected you to stumble, but you did not. Still, you cannot expect words alone to change centuries of belief." "I know," Eli admitted. "Tomorrow is the true trial." Lysera turned to face him, her golden eyes bright. "So tell me, human, what will you show? How will you convince me in my court?" Eli hesitated. "I am not sure. Humanity's strength is not easy to display. It is not power of body or endless instinct. It is in how we endure, how we remember, how we love. But how does one show such things in a hall of skeptics?" Lysera's lips curved into a small smile. "That is your challenge. Convince me. Convince us all." She walked to the window, gazing at the glowing city below. For a moment she was silent, then she asked softly, "Tell me, Eli Carter, has your people ever suffered great loss?" Eli felt his chest tighten. "Yes, many times. Wars, disasters, even among the stars. We have lost much. But each time we rise again." She turned to him. "And you still sing of love after such things?" He nodded. "Especially then. Because love is what survives when all else is gone." Lysera's expression softened, almost thoughtful. For the first time since he met her, her laughter was gone. "Strange creatures, you humans. Perhaps that is why I cannot look away." Eli blinked, uncertain how to answer. Before he could speak, Lysera straightened. Her mischievous smile returned. "Tomorrow, I will see if your people truly have strength. Do not disappoint me." She left as quickly as she came, leaving Eli staring at the door long after it closed. The next day, the Hall of Voices filled again. Nobles in bright robes, alien envoys, and even common citizens crowded into the high seats. The Emperor sat with his usual solemnity, while Lysera leaned forward with bright anticipation. The trial began. The scaled warriors once again showed feats of raw power, smashing stone columns into dust. The winged singers returned, their voices weaving into dazzling harmony that made the walls tremble. A long-lived species displayed records of families stretching back 10,000 years. Another race showed their endless fertility with children running onto the stage, bowing proudly before the court. Each display won cheers, applause, or respectful murmurs. Then came Eli's turn. He stepped onto the white platform again, alone. With no grand instruments, no chorus, no children, no power. The hall grew quiet, waiting to see what the human would do. Eli raised his voice clearly. "I am Eli Carter of Earth. My people cannot fly. We cannot break mountains. We cannot live 10,000 years. And yes, we cannot mate year-round. Many of you laugh at this, but I will show you why these limits give us strength." He reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out a small device. With a tap, it projected a hologram above the platform. Not weapons, not starships, just images. The first image was of an old woman smiling as she held the hand of a younger man. The caption beneath read, "Together, 70 years." The second image showed 2 soldiers in uniform, holding a picture of their families back home. The third showed a couple reunited after years apart, tears in their eyes, joy on their faces. More images followed. Families rebuilding after war, children raised with love, memorials built for those who had passed but were never forgotten. "These are humans," Eli said firmly. "We do not live forever, so we treasure the time we have. We cannot mate endlessly, so we treasure the families we create. We cannot always be together, but even apart, we hold each other in memory. This is our strength, not endless seasons, but endless meaning. The hall was silent. Many nobles frowned in confusion, others leaned closer with fascination. Eli continued, "When a human chooses to love, it is not because instinct demands it every day of every year. It is because the heart chooses. That is why we wait, why we endure, why we remember. That is why humanity survives. Because we do not live for instinct, we live for each other." For a long moment, the chamber was still. Then slowly a sound rose, not laughter, not scorn, but scattered applause. Some nobles clapped politely. A few even nodded with respect. Others still shook their heads, unconvinced. From the high seat, Princess Lysera leaned forward, her golden eyes glowing with delight. She began to clap her hands louder and louder until her laughter rang out through the chamber. "Well done, human," she cried. "You have moved more hearts than I expected, perhaps even mine." The audience stirred, voices rising in debate. Some were impressed, some mocked, some thoughtful. But one thing was certain, the human envoy had not failed. He had stood before the greatest of the galaxy and spoken with courage. Eli bowed deeply. He had not convinced all, perhaps not even most. But he saw something in Lysera's eyes now, something beyond laughter. It was curiosity, sharp, growing, and dangerous. The trial of understanding was not over. In truth, it had only just begun. The sun rose over the crystal towers of the Aurelian capital, casting golden light across the wide streets and sparkling gardens. Eli Carter walked through the corridors of the palace, his mind still turning over the events of the previous day. The trial in the Hall of Voices had tested his words, his courage, and his ability to inspire. The princess had been impressed, though she had yet to declare full acknowledgement of humanity's worth. Today, he sensed, would be different. As he entered the main courtyard, he noticed an unusual tension among the palace guards. Their normally relaxed formations were tight and precise, and their eyes darted constantly. Whispers of concern passed through the hallways. Eli frowned, sensing that something was wrong. "Human Eli Carter," called one of the palace commanders. "Stay alert. Today, reports of intruders in the lower wings have arrived. We do not yet know their intent." Eli nodded. "I will stay cautious." He had barely taken another step when a sudden alarm rang through the palace. A loud, sharp sound that echoed through the halls and chambers. Guards shouted commands as doors sealed automatically, and the hallways filled with tension. Princess Lysera appeared on the balcony overlooking the courtyard, her expression sharp. "Everyone remain calm," she shouted. "We will deal with this carefully." Eli's heart raced. A threat in the palace was dangerous, and the courtiers were not prepared for violence. Yet he knew that panicking would accomplish nothing. His instincts, honed not through combat but through human perseverance and quick thinking, told him to act. A sudden crash echoed from the main hall. Eli rushed toward the source, following the guards. The doors had been breached, and a group of unknown intruders, creatures with armored limbs and strange energy weapons, were advancing toward the royal chamber. The court members screamed and scrambled for safety. Eli's mind worked quickly. The alien guards were strong but cautious. Some were holding their ground while others seemed unsure of strategy against these unpredictable invaders. Without thinking, Eli darted forward, coordinating quickly with nearby guards. "Form a barrier near the throne, protect the princess first." His voice, though human and small compared to the alien commanders, carried authority. The guards obeyed, inspired by the calm determination in his words. Princess Lysera stood firmly on the balcony, her golden eyes scanning the chaos below. "Eli," she shouted, "do what you can, but be careful." Eli nodded and moved deeper into the hall. He spotted a young alien child trapped beneath a fallen column. Without hesitation, he lifted the heavy stone using his own strength and careful leverage, freeing the child. The child's eyes widened in amazement and relief, and the other nobles began to take courage from Eli's fearless actions. The intruders advanced, but Eli did not retreat. He guided guards to block key entrances, instructed others to protect the wounded, and used the palace layout to funnel the attackers into areas where they could be controlled. His thinking was not instinctive or brute force, it was methodical, strategic, and human. Several alien delegates tried to intervene using their own powers. A winged species flew above, attempting to strike from the air, but misjudged the corridors and risked colliding with guards below. A telepathic race attempted to control the intruders' minds, but their focus was scattered, and they failed. Eli saw an opportunity. He noticed that the attackers were drawn to the chaos rather than the royal chamber itself. He signaled to a group of guards to form a trap, using the palace's corridors to block their advance. Then, moving swiftly, he guided the frightened nobles to safety. The palace itself seemed alive with tension, doors locking automatically and floors glowing red to warn intruders of danger. Eli used every element of the environment, from elevated walkways to balcony railings, to maneuver the attackers into controlled zones. At one point, an intruder charged toward Princess Lysera's balcony. Eli acted without hesitation. He grabbed a nearby console and triggered the security grid, sending a burst of light that startled the intruder and caused it to stumble. The princess, seeing his quick thinking, nodded with approval. "Human," she shouted, her voice ringing through the hall. "You are remarkable." Eli continued coordinating defenses. He was not strong in the alien sense, nor did he possess natural combat abilities like many of the palace's guards, but he had something just as valuable: ingenuity, calm under pressure, and the ability to act decisively. The intruders were eventually cornered in the palace's lower wing, unable to escape thanks to Eli's planning. The guards captured them, and the threat was neutralized without major harm to any nobles or citizens. The palace erupted in cheers and applause, many rushing to thank the human who had led them through the crisis. Princess Lysera descended from the balcony and approached, Eli, her expression a mixture of admiration and surprise. "I doubted your species at first," she admitted, her golden eyes locking onto his. "But today, you have shown courage, intelligence, and leadership that rivals even the finest of my court. You have saved lives without relying on instinct alone. You have chosen every action, and in that choice you have proven humanity's strength." Eli bowed deeply. "Your Highness, I only did what anyone with care and thought would do. Humans are not always strong, but we endure, we think, and we act for the sake of others." Lysera's lips curved into a warm smile. "Endurance, thought, compassion. Yes, that is exactly what I needed to see. You have convinced me in ways words and stories could not." The other nobles looked on in amazement. Many whispered, realizing that strength was not always measured by raw power or endless ability. They had seen the human's courage, his methodical thinking, and his ability to inspire others under pressure. Later, in the palace gardens, Eli and Lysera walked quietly among the glowing flowers. The twin moons cast silver light on the marble paths, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of strange alien blossoms. "You have changed my view of humanity, Eli," Lysera said softly. "I laughed at your limits, thinking them weakness, but now I see that limits make your species stronger in ways few can understand. You act because you choose, not because you are forced. That is rare among the stars." Eli smiled humbly. "Thank you, Princess. Your acknowledgement means much." But it was the palace, the guards, and even the other nobles who followed direction that made the success possible. Humans can act alone, but we achieve more when we work together. Lysera nodded. "Indeed. That is another quality I admire. Your species does not rely solely on power. You rely on thought, courage, and collaboration. That is why I am certain humans are special." For the first time since Eli had arrived, Lysera's laughter was soft, genuine, and warm. She stepped closer and looked into his eyes. "You have proven more than I expected. Not only your species, but you, human, have impressed me. I see now why humanity can stand among the greatest in the galaxy." Eli felt a quiet pride settle over him. Humanity had been tested, and through his actions it had triumphed in the eyes of the princess and the court. Not with power, not with endless instinct, but with courage, intelligence, and the strength of choice. As they walked back toward the palace, Lysera looked at him with a teasing smile. Tomorrow, the final trial begins in the Hall of Voices. You have prepared well. I am curious to see how you will demonstrate the full extent of your species' strength. Eli nodded. I will do my best, Princess. Humanity will not disappoint. Lysera's golden eyes sparkled. I already know you will not, but I am eager to witness it. Humans, perhaps you are more remarkable than I ever imagined. The palace, once tense with crisis, now hummed with quiet admiration. Eli had faced danger, made swift decisions, and protected the lives of many, all without alien powers or extraordinary instincts. The court had begun to see what humans truly were, thoughtful, courageous, and capable of making choices that mattered. In that moment, Eli understood something profound. Being human was not about being the strongest, the fastest, or the most enduring. It was about heart, mind, and the courage to act for what was right. That understanding had not only saved lives, but also earned the respect of the most powerful princess in the galaxy. And so, the stage was set for the final demonstration. The court, now attentive and curious, awaited the next act in humanity's story. Eli Carter, with quiet determination, knew that the ultimate proof of humanity's uniqueness was just ahead. The palace was unusually quiet that evening. The halls, normally buzzing with whispers of nobles and visitors, now seemed heavy with expectation. Word had spread quickly of the human envoy who had dared to speak before the court, daring to claim that humanity's strength lay not in power, size, or endless ability, but in something far deeper: choice, loyalty, and meaning. Eli Carter walked through the corridors, escorted by a single attendant. He had spent the day in preparation, thinking carefully about what he would do next. Tomorrow would bring the final trial, the one that would determine how the court and Princess Lysera herself would view humanity. He knew that speeches and holograms were not enough. If humans were to prove their worth, their qualities had to be shown in action. As he entered his chambers, he found a small note resting on his desk. The handwriting was elegant, golden ink glowing faintly. It simply read, "Meet me in the garden at midnight." Lysera. Eli's heart skipped a beat. The princess wanted to see him again alone. He could only guess why. Perhaps she had more tests. Perhaps she wanted answers. Whatever the reason, he knew that this was another step in the challenge she had set. The garden at midnight was bathed in silver light from the twin moons. Flowers shimmered faintly, and the soft hum of the palace filled the air. Eli approached cautiously, his footsteps quiet on the marble path. Human. Lysera's voice called from near a fountain shaped like a spiral galaxy. She stepped forward, her silver gown catching the moonlight. You have spoken well in the hall. I have been watching the discussions that followed. Many are intrigued. Some are skeptical. But you have made me curious. Eli bowed slightly. Your Highness, it is my honor to serve and represent humanity. She studied him closely. You speak of choice, of loyalty, of bonds. Words are easy. You have shown me your images and stories, but now I want to see your courage. Eli's brow furrowed. Courage? Lysera nodded. Yes. The greatest proof of humanity is not in words or images. It is in action. Tomorrow, I will place you before a challenge that will test not only your mind but your heart. Will you face it? He straightened, resolve filling him. I will face it, Princess. I will do my best. She smiled, a warmth behind her golden eyes. That is all I ask. Rest tonight, human. Tomorrow, we see if your species is truly worthy of admiration. The next day arrived with tension. The Hall of Voices had been transformed into an arena, with platforms and barriers set up for displays of skill, intelligence, and courage. Delegates from various species filled the seats, eager to witness the human envoy's final demonstration. The Emperor sat with his usual sternness, while Lysera leaned forward, eyes bright with anticipation. Other races showed their might. Winged, warriors swooped through aerial courses, telepathic species demonstrated control over objects and minds, and long-lived species displayed complex problem-solving feats. Each demonstration drew gasps and applause. Eli watched quietly, noting the reactions of the audience and the princess. Finally, it was his turn. He stepped onto the central platform. There were no props, no displays, only himself and the empty space around him. Whispers filled the hall. Could a single human compete with species that could fly, lift mountains, or manipulate minds? Eli took a deep breath. Honored delegates, I stand before you as one man representing one species among many. We have no natural powers to awe you. We cannot fly through the sky. We cannot live 10,000 years. And yes, we cannot mate year-round like some of you. But what we do have, what we humans possess, is something you cannot see with eyes or measure with technology. We possess choice, courage, loyalty, and compassion. He paused, letting his words sink in. Then, without hesitation, he stepped off the platform and moved into the arena floor. His actions were simple but deliberate. He began to assist those who were struggling with their demonstrations, not because he had to, but because he could see their fear or difficulty. A winged alien faltered on a narrow beam, and Eli reached out, steadying it with a human hand. A young telepathic student froze in doubt, and Eli offered encouragement, pointing out the solution in calm, measured words. The hall watched in silence. Some delegates whispered in confusion. What was this human doing? Some nodded slowly, realizing they had never seen such simple acts of courage and thoughtfulness in a challenge of this kind. Eli continued, moving among the platforms, helping wherever he could. He did not seek applause or recognition. He acted because he saw a need and chose to meet it. At last, a sudden commotion arose. One of the structures used for a demonstration collapsed, threatening the safety of several young aliens. Instinctively, Eli sprinted toward the danger, lifting the debris and pulling the smaller creatures to safety. Sparks flew, alarms sounded, and a roar of gasps filled the arena. But Eli worked quickly, steadily, with focus and determination. No one was harmed. The hall erupted in cheers, some of them reluctant, some of them awed. The Emperor remained silent, but his eyes glimmered with approval. Lysera's golden eyes shone brightly. She rose from her seat, clapping with genuine delight. "Human," she cried, her voice carrying through the hall. "You have shown courage, thought, and compassion. You have saved lives not with raw power, but with your heart and mind. Perhaps this is what your people call strength." Eli bowed deeply, chest heaving. He felt relief, pride, and a deep respect for the princess all at once. "Your Highness, I have only done what any human would do in such a situation." Lysera laughed, warm and genuine, a sound that filled the arena. "Few have the courage to act as you did when power and fear surround them. You have proven what I could not have imagined. Humans are indeed remarkable." The Emperor finally spoke. "Let it be known that humanity has been shown before this court as worthy of respect, not because of instinct or power, but because of choice, courage, and loyalty. Their strength lies in their hearts and their minds." The nobles erupted into applause. Some still whispered doubts, but the majority now looked upon humans with newfound respect. Eli felt the weight of history settle on his shoulders. Humanity had been acknowledged not for its power, but for what made it unique. Later, in the quiet of the palace gardens, Eli found Lysera waiting. She smiled, leaning against the railing overlooking the city lights. "Human," she said softly. "You told me to convince me, and you did. Not with force, not with endless seasons of instinct, but with choice and courage. I understand now. Your people are truly special." Eli smiled, feeling a deep warmth in his chest. "Thank you, Princess. Your words honor humanity." Lysera's golden eyes glimmered as she laughed gently. "Convince me? You already have." She extended her hand and he took it, a simple gesture filled with mutual respect. The night was calm, the city glowing under twin moons. For the first time, Eli felt a deep connection not only with the princess but with the universe around him. Humanity had proven itself not through power, not through conquest, but through qualities that were timeless: courage, compassion, and the choice to do what is right. In the days that followed, the Aurelian court spoke often of the human envoy, who had dared to claim that his species was special. Delegates visited Earth with new curiosity, alliances formed, based on respect rather than fear, and throughout it all, Eli carried the memory of Princess Lysera's golden eyes and laughter, a reminder that humans, though limited in some ways, had a strength that could change worlds. The princess never tired of teasing him about his species, limits, but now each laugh carried admiration, not scorn. And in that laughter, Eli saw the true victory of humanity, not in conquest, not in endless seasons, but in hearts and minds that chose to be extraordinary. And so, the story ended not with battle or triumph of weapons, but with a quiet, shining truth. Humans were remarkable, not because of what they could do endlessly, but because of the meaning they gave to every choice they made. Princess Lysera smiled at him one last time. "Tell me, human, shall I laugh at you again tomorrow?" Eli laughed softly, shaking his head. "Only if you admire what you see." The princess laughed, warm and bright, and in that moment, humanity's place among the stars was secure.